Hello everyone, this is Pet Crochets. Welcome back to my channel. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I started this Valentine's Day dress really late once again, so I was frantically crocheting over the course of 2 to 3 days to get this done. But I got her done, and this is the final product of what I wore for Valentine's Day. I'm absolutely obsessed with this yarn as well. It has all these different hues of pink as well as some tinsel, so it does have a little sparkle to it. I went for a halter style neckline with a rose detail and added a lace up corset style back and some scallops at the hem. This dress is gorgeous and flattering, and I'm so excited to share it with you all. And as always, it will be measurement based. If you like my videos, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on future crochet patterns and tutorials. Let's get started. Here's that yarn I used. This is the Loops and Threads Facets yarn in the color Dragon Fruit. I will say that although it is listed as a weight 4 yarn, the thickness of the yarn really varies throughout the skein. So at times it would get as thick as a weight 5 yarn, and then it'll also get really thin all of a sudden, almost down to a weight 2. So something to keep in mind if you decide to use the same yarn. I'm also going to be grabbing my 3.75mm hook for this project. Before we begin, I want to go over a few measurements, and please ignore my horrible drawings. You can either take a tape measure and get this measurement, or begin the chain and kind of just measure it up against your body. The dress is going to be worked in rows that are going up and down rather than from left to right. So when you start off this chain, it's going to be the measurement of the dress and also how low you want the dress to be in the back. So this is where the top of the corset detail is going to start. I wanted the opening for that corset detail portion to be around 8 inches because this yarn is also very stretchy, so it will close a lot more. And then I wanted it to be around 6 inches under my armpit. So I measured around 4 inches from my spine because this panel is going to be symmetrical, so we're going to create 2 sides. We're splitting that number in 2, so that's 4. So 4 inches from my spine and then 6 inches down from my armpit. That's where I began the tape measure and ran it down to around my ankle length. That's how long I wanted my dress to be. So that's kind of how I determined how I wanted this dress to start. Now, once again, you can just kind of make a chain and measure it up against your body. So there's 2 things you want to keep in mind. One is how low you want the back to be or where you want that corset portion to begin. And 2 is how wide of a section you want for the actual corset detail. Here I'm just showing you guys again. So for the front panel, we're just making one large panel. We're starting off with that first measurement. And for me, that was around 6 inches under my armpit down to my desired length, measuring from around 4 inches from my spine. And then to create that halter style neckline, we're going to be increasing up. And for the top of the dress, it's not going to be a point, but it's going to be kind of like a little plateau. This is because I'm going to be attaching this to a neckline later and then adding the rows. Once we create the top of the dress, then we're going to go back down the other way, and this dress is going to be symmetrical, so we're basically imitating what we did on the other side but doing the opposite. So instead of increasing, now we're going to decrease for the same amount of rows. Now that we have that large front panel done, all we have left to do is to add 2 back panels. We're going to start these 2 back panels around 6 inches from the top of our front panel, and this is just so that we have a space for the corset detail, and also we're adding extra rows to accommodate for the increases in our hip and our butt. And so the waist will be tighter, and then we'll have enough space for our legs and our butt, and so basically that the dress can fit. Once that is complete, we're just left with the necktie portion and all of our little details like the rows and the scallops, and we're done. I promise you that this dress is a lot easier than I'm making it seem. Once we get started, it's just a straight shot from there, and it is fairly easy to work up. Now let's get started with the dress itself finally. So we're going to start off by making foundation half double crochet stitches to that initial length that I was talking about. So you want to make this long enough that it's going to go from the center of your back or around 6 inches under your armpit and however inches away from your spine, and you want to make sure you run it over your hips and thighs all the way down to your desired length. I have a video on how I do these foundation chainless stitches, and I'll be linking it above. Once again, I'm using foundation half double crochet. If you want the stitches to be a little bit tighter, you can use a smaller size hook and a different type of stitch, for example, single crochet. Now I'm going to chain up 2 and turn my work. And I'm going to immediately begin with increases. So I'm going to increase by placing 2 half double crochets into that very first stitch, the stitch holding the chain. So here I'm placing 2 half double crochets into that first stitch for an increase. For the rest of this row, I'm just going to be doing 1 half double crochet into every single stitch all the way down. Since we're doing a halter style neckline, we're only going to be increasing on one side. So when we get to the end, we're not doing an increase. I also don't go into the turning chain. I stop at that very last stitch. Once you get to the end of the row, you're going to chain up 2 and turn your work, and then half double crochet into every single stitch, including that very first stitch. Remember, this is the bottom of the dress, so we're not doing an increase. We're only going to be increasing at the top of the dress right here to create that slanted halter style neckline. So you're going to go until that very last stitch. So I made it to the end. Now I'm going to chain 2 and turn my work. And once again, I'm doing another increase by placing 2 half double crochets into that very first stitch. Once you complete the increase, you're just going to half double crochet normally down the rest of the row, and don't forget at the end of the row we're not increasing because that is the bottom of our dress. Increasing once during these rows is going to create a gradual incline. I did this until I had a total of 7 rows. That includes the half double crochet foundation row we made in the beginning. And this will be the base of the dress, and then we're going to start increasing more rapidly. I now reached the end of row 8 because this is going to be the inclined portion of the dress. And into that very last stitch, I'm placing another half double crochet for a total of 2 half double crochets into that final stitch. Chaining up 2 and increasing again at the beginning of the row like we were doing by placing 2 half double crochets into the first stitch. So previously we were only increasing at the beginning of the row, but now we're going to be increasing at the end of the row as we approach that inclined portion of the dress, chaining 2, turning, and then increasing again into that very first stitch with 2 half double crochets. So we're increasing twice on one side of the dress or one end of the dress, and that will cause the dress to increase quicker and create a steeper incline. You're going to keep working on these increased rows until this touches your collarbone like so. So here I am trying the dress on. As you can see, where I ended is touching my collarbone, and then I know now that I'm ready to begin that little plateau section and then start working on the other side of the dress. Here are some of the measurements I have at this point. So I have around 13 inches for that incline, and then the dress is around 11 inches stretched. So now we're going to work on that plateaued section or the neckline section, and we're not adding any increases. We want this part to be flat. So we're going to chain 2 and turn our work, and we're going to just half double crochet into every single stitch, including that very first stitch holding the chain, and half double crochet all the way down. Basically, you're just going to keep adding half double crochet rows with no increases until it is the desired length or it touches your other collarbone. For me, that was around 2 inches. As you can see here, I went ahead and started the next row. So now I have 2 stitches left at the end of this row, and this is the top of the dress, and we're going to begin decreases. To do decreases, you're going to half double crochet 2 stitches together. So you're going to put your hook in to the next stitch, pull up a loop, and without finishing that half double crochet, you're going to go into the very next stitch and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all loops on your hook for a decrease. Remember that now that we're going down the other way, we're going to be doing what we did on the other side but opposite. So instead of increases, we're now doing decreases. You're going to chain 2 and pull tightly, and previously we were going into that very first stitch, but we're going to half double crochet into the second stitch for another decrease. So we're decreasing at the end of the row and at the beginning of the row, because on the other side we were increasing at the beginning of the row and increasing at the end of the row. So we're just doing the opposite here. Then you're just going to half double crochet all the way down, and you're basically going to do the same amount of rows of decreases as the other side. Don't forget that in the beginning, when we first started this dress, we had that first half double crochet foundation row, and then we did 6 rows of only 1 increase. So as you're doing these decrease rows, the last 7 rows, you want to do 6 rows of only 1 decrease. So you can decrease at the beginning of the row by just going directly into that second stitch. And then the very last row, I would just do a regular half double crochet row, so that when you fold the dress in half, it should line up perfectly. As you can see here, the dress is folded, the ends line up, and you should have the same amount of stitches at the end of this working row as you have in the first row that we started, because this is going to be symmetrical. This is what I have so far for the dress, and now we want to figure out where we want to start the 2 back panels for the back of the dress. I chose around 6 inches from the top of the row of the back of the dress, so around here, and that's where I'm going to start the back panels to accommodate for my hip width and my butt, and so that the waist portion will be cinched in with the corset detail. So here I'm just measuring 6 inches and I'm counting up how many stitches that will be, because we're going to be doing the same exact thing on the other side, and I want to make sure that it's even. Once you figure out how many stitches and how low you want this to be, you're going to chain up 1 extra, cut, and pull the yarn through to secure. Now you're going to just mark off where you're going to begin that back panel. So again, this is 6 inches down from the back of the dress, or the top of the dress. I'm going to start working at the bottom of the dress and pull a slip knot through that very last stitch. Again, this is the bottom of the dress. Now I'm going to chain up 2, and I'm going to start working into those stitches by placing a half double crochet into every single stitch. And you're going to stop at that stitch right before the stitch marker, because we're going to half double crochet those last 2 stitches together for a decrease. So I made it now to the stitch before the stitch marker. I'm taking the stitch marker out, so I have 2 stitches left. I'm going to half double crochet those 2 stitches together. So you're going to go into that next stitch, and without finishing the half double crochet, go into that last stitch and then half double crochet together. From here you're going to chain up 2 and turn your work, and then you're going to half double crochet into every single stitch, going all the way down. Once again, we're only decreasing on one end, so at the top of the dress. So when you get to the bottom, you're not going to decrease, you're just going to half double crochet normally, chain 2 and go back up down the row. And we're decreasing at the end of the row. So when you reach those last 2 stitches, you're going to half double crochet those last 2 stitches together for a decrease. We're basically decreasing every other row like we were doing at the beginning when we're starting the dress and we're increasing only once. Here we're decreasing just 1 time at the end of the row. You're going to chain 2, turn your work, and then half double crochet into every single stitch. And you're going to repeat this until it is your desired length. So what you could do is you could wrap the tape measure around the widest part of your hips over your butt, and then measure how long that front panel is and figure out how many more inches you need and divide it by 2, because remember we're doing this on the other side of the panel as well. And that will kind of let you know how many rows you need or how many inches you need in order to give yourself enough coverage. So I kept going until I had 4 inches. I needed 8 more inches in order to give me that coverage. You also want to take into account how much stretch your yarn has. So once again, this yarn stretches around 27%. So I took that into account when I was getting this measurement. So you're going to repeat all of those steps for the other side. So as you can see here, now when I fold this in half, everything lines up perfectly. So we have that front panel and then the 2 back panels. So now we're just going to line up those 2 ends that we just finished off, and we're going to get ready to seam this dress. So you should have the same amount of stitches on both sides because this is going to be symmetrical. And you also want to make sure that your dress is inside out. So choose your favorite side and turn it inside out so that the seam is on the inside of the dress. Once you have those 2 sides aligned, you're going to place your hook into the top stitch on both panels. This is the top of the dress, not the bottom of the dress. And you're going to pull a slip knot through that stitch on both panels, like so. Make sure it's nice and tight, chain 1, And then you're going to go down by placing your hook into both stitches on both panels and doing a single crochet. And you're going to work down towards the bottom of the dress. We're starting from the top and going down because as we reach the bottom, we're going to start working on the scallops for the hem of the dress. So keep going until this is seamed all the way down. Now we're ready to start the scallops. So at the very last stitch, you're just going to chain 1, and then you're going to single crochet along the perimeter of the bottom of this dress. So there's no clear stitch to go into, so I'm just making sure that the single crochets are as evenly spaced out as possible. So here I'm just putting my hook in and doing a single crochet, and you're going to go all the way down the perimeter of the bottom of this dress. At the end, you're going to place one final single crochet at the top of that first single crochet that we made. Now we're going to skip 3 stitches, and into the 4th stitch, we're going to place 5 double crochets. You can do a different variation of this as well and figure out how spaced out or how many stitches in between you want to skip if you want to make the scallops completely even. So I would just count up how many stitches you have along the perimeter and kind of figure it out that way. Once you finish that scallop stitch, you're going to skip 3 stitches and then single crochet into the 4th. And this is the basic pattern we're repeating. So we're skipping 3 stitches, doing 5 double crochets into the 4th stitch for a scallop, skip 3 stitches, into the 4th stitch, do a single crochet, and you're going to do this all the way around. At the end, you're just going to slip stitch into that very first double crochet stitch on the top of that first scallop we made. Now you're going to chain up 1, cut, and pull the yarn through to secure, and that will finish the scalloped hem for your dress. We now want to place the dress right side up, so as you can see the seam is on the inside, and this is the back portion of the dress, and we're going to place our hook through the corner stitch. You're going to pull a slip knot through this stitch, and we're going to chain up 1. And basically we're going to add single crochets along the perimeter of the front or the top of the dress. So once again, there's no clear stitch to go into, so you want to make sure that you make these single crochets as even as possible. And you're going to work all the way down, go to the front of the dress where that plateau section is, and then go down the other side until you reach the other end. So this is what we have so far, and we want to add scallops along this open corset back portion as well. So to begin the scalloped portion, we're going to add a single crochet into that very first stitch. We're going to skip 3 stitches, and then into the 4th stitch, 5 double crochets for the scallop. So basically what we were doing for the hem. Once again, if you want to make sure that these scallops are evenly spaced out, you can count up how many stitches you have here and kind of plan it out that way. And I just repeated this, so on the 4th stitch you single crochet, skip 3, on the 4th stitch scallop, and you're going to do this until you reach the other side. So now this back opening portion has this beautiful scalloped detail, like so. Once we finish the scalloped portion, we're just going to chain 1, cut, and pull the yarn through to secure. And now we're ready to work on the necktie portion of the dress that's going to attach to that little plateaued section. So for this, we're just going to start off with a chain up of 3, and we're going to make 1 half double crochet foundation stitch, just 1. Now we're going to chain up 2 and turn our work, and we have 1 stitch. Into this stitch, we're placing 2 half double crochets. So here's my first half double crochet, into that very same stitch, another half double crochet. This is what we have so far. We're chaining up 2 and turning our work. And now we have 2 stitches. Into both of these stitches, we're placing 2 half double crochets. So into that first stitch, 2 half double crochets. Into that very next stitch or the last stitch, 2 more half double crochets. So we have a total of 4 half double crochet stitches. You can keep adding more increases until this is your desired width, but I wanted this to be around 4 stitches wide. So this is where I'm going to stop for my increases. I'm going to chain up 2, turn my work, and just place 1/2 double crochet into every single stitch. And you're just going to keep repeating half double crochet rows with no increases until this is long enough that it can wrap around your neck, and then we'll do the decreases on the other side so it has a nice little point at the end. So you're just going to keep working down, and for reference I made my total length 10 inches. This is with the beginning point as well. And now I'm ready to start the decreases to make the other side, so we want it pointed. We're going to chain up 2 and turn our work, and we're going to begin with a decrease. So to decrease, we're just half double crocheting into the second stitch rather than going to the first stitch, so we're skipping a stitch. Then you're going to decrease again by half double crocheting the next 2 stitches together. Now we chain up 2, we have 2 stitches left. We're going to skip the first stitch and half double crochet into the second stitch, or the last stitch. And that will leave us with just 1 stitch left, like the other side. Chain 2 and turn your work, and just place 1 half double crochet into that final stitch. So at the end, this is what you have. You have 2 pointed edges and then the middle of the necktie section. From here, you're going to chain 1, and now we're going to single crochet along the entire perimeter of this little necktie just to clean up those rough edges. There's no clear stitch to go into, so just make these single crochets evenly spaced out, and you're going to go all the way around until you reach that point again. From there, you can just chain up 1, cut, and pull the yarn through to secure. Now we're just going to make the ties so that we can wrap this around our neck and just secure it. I doubled up my yarn so it's more secure, and I'm pulling a slip knot through the corner of one of the points and chaining to my desired length. You want to make sure you count up how many chains you do, because we're going to do this again on the other side as well. So repeat that for the other side, so you have 2 straps. Now we're ready to attach this necktie portion to the top of the dress. So you want to count up how many stitches you have at the bottom of the necktie and how many stitches you have at this plateau section at the top of the dress. And you want to align this so that the middle stitch of this plateau and the middle stitch of the necktie are aligned. From here, I just figured out where the beginning of that plateau section is, and I'm putting my hook through the stitch on the necktie and the stitch on that top of the dress, pulling a slip knot through both of those panels or both of those stitches, chaining up 1, and I'm going to single crochet down, making sure to go through both panels. And I'm stopping when we end the plateau section of the dress. So however many rows you did or however many stitches you have for the top of that plateau section is how much you want to seam up this portion of the necktie. That stitch marker just marked off the center of that plateau section, so I took the stitch marker out and did the other side and stopped when the plateau section ended. At the end, you're just going to chain up 1, cut, and pull the yarn through to secure. And then I used a 4.5mm hook to create this rose. I'll be linking the tutorial for how to create this rose. Once you have the rose done, you can just use a darning needle and some yarn and attach it to the front of the dress where the necktie and the top of the dress meet. So this is what the dress looks like at this point with the rose attached to that necktie portion. And now we're ready to start working on the back strap for the corset details. So here you can either use a ribbon to do that portion. I chose to use the yarn, so I doubled up the yarn again. And basically you're just making a very, very long chain. So you want this long enough that it can do that crisscross corset portion and also leave 2 long straps at the end so that you could tie this. So again, you can use ribbon or you can use the strap that you made. I'm just going to show you how you're going to do that crisscross effect. The dress is right side up, and I like to put my hook from the top, going down from the inside of the dress and pull the strap through. And you're going to do that on both sides and make sure it's even. Then you're going to cross the straps over before you pull it through again. So cross them over. And then once again, you're grabbing the strap from the top of the dress so that the strap is going from the inside of the dress to the top. from here you're just going to cross and then repeat. So you're just going to do this all the way down until you reach the end. Once you weave in all your loose ends, you're done with the dress. Okay guys, and here is the final product of our halter rose Valentine's Day dress. If you have any suggestions for names for this dress, leave them down below. I'm not sure what to call it yet, but I would love to hear what you guys think we should name this dress. I absolutely love this dress. I think it's so beautiful and elegant, and the neckline is very flattering, especially with the cute little rose detail. I think this would look absolutely gorgeous on all body types, and I can't wait to see what you guys do with this pattern. If you decide to try this tutorial out and make the dress, let me know down below, and also send me a picture on Instagram. I love it when you guys show me your creations. It just makes me so happy. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you like my videos, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye everyone!